This video was created at 11:55 and the raw footage was roughly like 30 or 40 minutes. It is now 3:15 and the entire edit has been completed. So this edit that you're watching was done in roughly 2.5 hours. I don't know if that's really fast and I don't know if that's slow, but without all these things that I've been sharing with you, I highly doubt I would be able to accomplish it that quickly. All right, bros, we need to get this ish done. All right, we in the slides today. We stand up, look, freaking active track. Okay, all right, let's do this. Here are the 5, 6, 7, I don't care how many tips there are, whatever I decide on how I am making 5 figures editing videos. Here we go. Number 1 is a reality check that you're probably not gonna like, but talking head pays the bills. I know a lot of us like storytelling and the Sam Colder days and vlogs and challenges, and I think that those are great and they're entertaining to watch, but I'll tell you right now that there is a huge percentage of professional work that is talking head, especially when it comes to YouTube. It's not always cinematic, it's not always fun, but it does pay the bills. So a lot of stuff I'm going to be talking about has to do with talking head, but I'm sure you can take a lot of good nuggets out of this. Number 2, do not focus on the intro. Now, I am not saying that the intro is not the most important part, because it still is. But what I'm referring to is do not edit that section first. Oftentimes when it comes to the intro is what we call a thesis statement, meaning that it's typically a list that is going to give you a guide for what the video is about to be about. It's a lot like writing. Actually, that should just be a point in and of itself. Editing is a lot like writing. Now, back to the intro. Typically, that hook is giving you a lot of some of the best moments throughout the video. And if you haven't edited the rest of the video, how do you know what's going to make it in here? A lot of times I will watch a YouTube video and I can tell whenever the intro was actually edited before the rest of the video was, because oftentimes I won't get a payoff for something that was in the intro later on throughout the video. Or, which is one of the biggest ones, is that oftentimes in the hook as a snippet, it can stand alone pretty well. But when you watch it in context, it doesn't have a good payoff at all. And I see that so much, and that is something that I try to avoid. So yes, I've heard some people saying you should do the intro first because you have the most energy to get the edit done, but I would argue save a little bit of that fuel for the end so that you don't have to go and search for all of these things to make the intro. You can just edit through and then you can just grab those clips and throw them in at the beginning when you need it. Now here's a question. Have you ever struggled to decide whether you should keep a certain portion of the video in or take it out? Hayden Hillier Smith said this. Now this would be a great moment to play that clip, but I'm not gonna go looking for it. But here's what he said. If you have this clip and you have this clip, and then you remove this clip in the center and it still makes sense when you put those two things together, then you should take it out. Now I don't fully agree with this, but I think that it is a great rule of thumb for like 80% of the time.
It works every time.
No, seriously, like it is a really good rule to follow. It's not universal, but as a default, it actually works pretty well. Okay.
They've done studies, you know.
I'm about to tell you about a study that has always intrigued me. These researchers found out that somebody who does the same task over and over again not only gets more efficient, but they also get faster at that task instead of constantly switching tasks. We need to take a page out of that notebook. Do not go to one section, add the music, add the sound effects, add the colors, add the transitions. Don't do any of that garbage, man. I hate when people say don't do this. It's actually way better to just say this is what I do and you can take it if you want. Look, this is one of the few times I'm just gonna say don't do this. If you wanna be faster, if you wanna be more efficient, do the same thing over and over again. Cut all the fat all at the same time. Add all the B-roll, which by the way, I don't even do that. I actually make a list of all the B-roll that I need because oftentimes I have to go searching for it or I have to create it. So I'll actually make a list first. But anyway, it still falls into the same thing. Add all the B-roll, add all of the sound, and then add all of your graphics. Every time you switch tasks, your brain has to turn on different neuron receptors to accomplish that task. Be more efficient, be more efficient, be more efficient. Don't make your brain work so hard. Stick to one task and then just keep going. Now let's go back to talking about writing for just a few seconds. When it comes to writing an essay or a book, every single paragraph is intentional and there's a reason why it's in there. When you watch a movie, every single scene, every single shot is intentional. It's not like us where we can just grab a camera and shoot at something. When you watch a movie, oftentimes they even have to grab these big IMAX cameras, these big rigs to point it at something. Means that it's intentional because that costs money to get that singular shot. It is the same thing whenever it comes to editing. Be extremely intentional about what is in there and why it is in there, which leads to my next point, which is color code your timeline. Don't click away, bro. I know it's annoying, but hear me out. There's some pretty deep stuff in here. When you're intentional about color coding your stuff, I'm not just talking about chapters. I'm talking about micro chapters. I'm talking about this is point one, and then this is an example of point one, and then this is our closing statement. Being able to get yourself into the mindset and being extremely intentional about what you're putting into something allows you to keep your edits nice and tight and lean. You don't have to categorize every single sentence. I just said that to get the point across. But what I'm referring to is something like this. The chapter is, I'm talking about Red Bull. And then when I'm talking about Red Bull, I can talk about how I really like the font and I really like the color. And then after that, I talk about the taste. And then I talk about how I like the sound that it makes whenever I open it. The entire chapter is he's talking about Red Bull, but the exact examples are the graphics and then the taste and then how it sounds when I open it. Those are 3 different sections of 3 different colors. But when you watch a YouTube video, it's probably just a chapter talking about Red Bull. This is what I mean. And the more that you can start thinking as a writer and being intentional about what things are in a video, your videos will become addicting to where people will not want to click away. And in YouTube land, retention is everything. I would love it if Red Bull sponsored me. So if I was you, I would be very intentional when you watch movies, whenever you're looking up podcasts or watching videos. Look up some things about writing, look up video essays, look at how people format their things, try and reverse engineer why things are edited the way that they are. The more that you can identify patterns in other people's literature and content, the easier it will be for you. And at the end of the day, you can do what I do for my clients, and you can just write the chapters for them so that they don't have to go through it. And it's easy when you can just see the color-coded marks on there and just give them the timestamps. That's just a little bonus. I'm giving away my sauce here. That's just a little bonus. And here's my last one that is the most cliche, but I got a little spin on it, so just bear with me. And that is, do not reinvent the wheel. I am talking about shortcuts and templates. And you've heard it from everyone saying you need to use shortcuts and you need to use templates, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to provide a little bit more depth that I've never heard anyone talk about. Hopefully Envato and Storyblocks would love to sponsor me even after I say this. You don't need Envato and you don't need Storyblocks. Dang, I said it. Okay, well, actually, that's not true. Like, you do need it, like, for a time and even in context. So anyway, let me explain. When it comes to templates and text and graphics and all those things, yes, go grab a template, grab something from someone who has already done the hard work for you, 100%. But you don't need to be downloading new things every single time you make a new video. I know it sounds silly, like, well, duh, Joseph, but no, like, seriously, once you find a text or a graphic that you like, then use that, and that's your go-to. Yeah, you can change the font and the size or whatever, but once you find something that you like, just use that thing. You'd be surprised at how much time is taken when you're sitting there deciding, oh, I love that font. Oh, I really like this one. Oh, but this one's so good too. Well, I like that one. Well, I can download them all. You have lost so much time. Editing takes so much time. We need to be efficient here. Once you found something that you like, that's it. Stick with it, run with it, use it over and over again. Now remember, I'm not saying don't download anything new. Yes, you can, but I think you need to be very intentional about it. For example, I will not use any glitch text animations for every single video. I'll use it maybe if the video is about AI because it fits the theme and the text is also telling a story. Or if we're talking about Legos, which is a huge topic right now, bricks and minifigs, it would be good to use some sort of stop motion type of animation for the text. All of these things are intentional. But if it's just like a simple talking head, use the same template over and over again. So if I was you, I would do these next things. Number 1, get a small bank of 3 to 5 text graphic animations that you like to use and just stick with those, and you know that you're going to pick one of those 3 in every single one of your videos. And then number 2, whenever you need something intentional or different, go and grab that and then just keep reusing that afterwards. And so now you have a like special bank. You have like your core bank, and then you have like your special utility bank of text and graphics. And number 3, I suggest you watch Greg Edit's video. He has a great video talking about how he has put templates together and text for different clients. But long story short, create things that are intentional for you and your workflow, which kind of leads straight into the shortcuts aspect. You already know that you need to use shortcuts, but to take it a step further, I want to break this down into 3 categories. Level 1 of people that use shortcuts is where you just download the shortcuts from one of your favorite creators. Cool. Then number 2 is whenever you start creating your own kind of shortcuts for the things that you do all the time. And level 3 is creating your own scripts and code to do the shortcuts for you. You do not have to jump to level 3 immediately. You can start at the beginning at level 1 and you can work your way up. But I would highly suggest the faster you can get to number 2, you're going to be in a much faster place. Now, just so you know, I realized that I was wasting like 3 to 5 seconds every single time I had to switch from the transform button to the dynamic zoom button or to the open effects overlay button. And I switch in between those buttons at least 200 times throughout a 20 to 30 minute video. So if we have 5 seconds, multiply that by 200, that is 1,000 seconds divided by 60. That is 16 minutes, almost 17 minutes on the low end of how many times I'm sitting there just switching in between tools. That is too much time, bro. And so I created these shortcuts on my Toolbox, not sponsored by the way. And so I use this side button, kind of like a shift button. So I hold that and click one button and it brings up the transform tool. Hold the shift button and click another button and it opens up the dynamic zoom function. And then I hold the shift button and click another button and it opens up the open VFX overlay. I don't have to scroll through. I don't have to click on anything. All I do is switch in between all of those things and we're good to go. Because of that, I am now 17 minutes faster than your average editor. The faster that you figure out the things that take you a long time, the faster you will be, period. That did not come out as good as I wanted to, but you know what I mean. I literally have 10 more pages of text of all these shortcuts because I was editing and I just decided to brain dump all this stuff. So if you're interested in more kind of tips like this or whatever, let me know. I'll be more than happy to make more of these because even though I don't want to be an editor for forever, this is kind of my life right now. And I have a lot of tips and tricks that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about. So anyway, that's it. Catch you guys in the next one.